Welcome to It Just Got Real TV. We're back right at you guys again this week with Chikali and Pearl J. And we're going to be talking about deportation and Trump's administration. Oh my God, immigration policy. So we're going to be talking about the negative impact that these families are having by all of these deportations. It was a gentleman that had pulled up at a traffic light and made a wrong turn. ICE pulled him over and deported him because of that. And I was just like heartbroken when I heard that. And so I want to know, I know you, Chikeli, know a lot of people here in the, Latino community. How is this affecting us right here in Nevada?
Well, it's tragic and very sad that it's happening. It's even sad knowing that it's happening after Trump himself said that when he was running that it was going to happen, and yet people still, um, you know, um, voted for him. Maybe thinking that he was kidding. The first 4 years that he was president, he was terrible. Everybody knew he was racist. He undermined law, and he did what he wanted to when it came to people of color. And that wasn't good enough, I guess, for the American people. And we all understood it because the majority of those in power are white, and they realized that people of color were going to be the majority. And fear started kicking in, and before you knew it, this whole rhetoric of us being the enemy, especially immigrants, started kicking in, and we became enemy of the state, enemy number one. And it's unfortunate that after 4 years of chaos, from 2016 to 2012, the American people still chose more. Whether there was foul play in this election, I still don't know how he won. We'll leave it at that. But for people to think that he wasn't going to follow through, especially how Kamala Harris was so clear and professional and precise with who he was in terms of being a monster, and how people of color, not just white people, but people of color could have voted for him, was mind-blowing. When it comes to Latinos, yeah, a very small percentage of Mexican Americans voted for him for whatever reasons, but the majority of Latinos that voted for this man are the very same ones that are being deported. Venezuelans and those of Cuban descent, who for us, even though they're Latinos, aren't really Latinos because they get it all. And when they left Cuba, thanks to Reagan, they were given asylum. And because of that love and respect, they have been loyal. But it's amazing how they easily forget that when they needed asylum and assistance and they got it, why isn't it that they don't want the same for everybody else?
Right.
And it breaks our hearts because they don't want to support us. But you know what? Even the black community who supported and vouched for Trump, those who you would have thought would have gotten some sort of cabinet position nominations never got it.
Yeah.
They were all Uncle Toms that, supported this man and still got ran over.
Yeah.
There's no loyalty in this man. And what's happening in our communities, not just in Reno, but all over the United States, is crazy. And not only are we, facing a constitutional crisis, because here's a man that doesn't respect the law. He swore to uphold an oath to the Constitution, and he's breaking every aspect of it. When you have a man who has gone rogue and thinks that he can do anything, who is a dictator because he's doing all this, directive orders without allowing Congress to come in and, decide whether it's going to be a law or not, and breaking every rule, just is heartbreaking. Because I don't think we've ever been in a position like this, where not only people of color but immigrants are paying the price for it, and families are suffering. But now you're getting, judges and mayors who are following the rule of law, which is something that this president should be upholding, being arrested. So it's mind-boggling. There's chaos in our country. And I think honestly that we're just, heading from bad to worse.
Yeah, I feel like, we are in big trouble. I think that we are in a lot of trouble, and I think that the trouble has just begun. I really hate to see how this is going to impact all of us within the next 60 days. I mean, because the impact of it already has been like crazy, super, super crazy. I just read today that the Trump administration just allowed ISIS to bring on what is it? I think it was 20,000. Yeah, it's 20,000 more ISIS officers to start deporting. 20,000 more paid officers just to deport immigrants.
Well, let's be clear. They said that there was over 11 illegal immigrants in this country, and that most of them were murderers, rapists, and just thugs, right? It's funny because the only criminal and rapist and predator, criminal, liar, thug in this country is the one sitting in the White House. Mm-hmm. And everybody wants to point the fingers at people who want to come into this country and work and who don't have criminal records, mm-hmm. And the only crime that they've done is seek a better life. Mm-hmm. But no one wants to look at the example that we have, mm-hmm. Who's a narcissist and authoritarian, at the White House, and everybody seems to be okay with that. It's just sad to understand what's really happening here. He lies every day, and everything that he said and everything that he ran on with regards to his campaign, he has not fulfilled, he has not done. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing how he has just made the immigrant and those who don't have criminal records, mm-hmm. Those who are even mm-hmm. in a state where they've done everything right, mm-hmm. he's deporting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You've got people who are in a position where the time has come for them to come and get their citizenship, to where he's holding that process and actually, deporting them. Mm-hmm. He's asking people with permanent residency who are here legally, who you cannot deport, mm-hmm. who have no criminal records, who are being deported. Mm-hmm. Now you've got a Congress, mm-hmm. Who passed by 6-7 votes, who voted so that even if you're a citizen, and they want to deport you for whatever reasons, can be deported. So does that make any sense to you?
No, it
what,
doesn't.
What is going on?
My thoughts on all of that is it's all about power. I'm not just the president, but I'm the king of the world. I am God. I am above everything, every judge, every lawyer, every doctor. I am running the world. It's all about me and what I say and what I say only. Nothing and what nobody else says matters. A law doesn't matter to him. Nothing matters to him. And it's really, really sad. And you are correct. A lot of people are being deported. They're going to appointments. They're going into schools. They're going into colleges. They're going into hospitals. You know what I'm saying? They're waiting in Walmart parking lots for people to get off of work and deporting them as soon as they get off of their shift. They're doing stuff like that. It's really, following people, staking them out like they are like hardcore criminals. Some people that have been here since they are 5 years old and have got, 30 years in business, haven't committed any type of crimes, have done everything right, as you said. And they're still messing with these people and causing problems with these people, for no reason at all. But I can assure you, if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be a lot different. If these same policies started affecting their household and their families, you know what I mean? They start bringing separation, in between their families. If it start impacting their families the way it's impacting everybody else. A lot of people are heartbroken. They even took, I think, a little girl, I'm not going to say I know a little girl that had a brain tumor. You know what I'm saying? Away from her mother and her family, you know what I'm saying? And then they're putting these people in these institutions or camps and stuff, like where they're like being badly treated, just like they're like dogs or something. I mean, I think even the dog pound has better facilities, and treatment than from what I'm hearing, how some of these people are actually being treated, and it's heartbreaking. I'm not a racist person, but I feel like this is all about power. It's not nothing about, illegal immigrants and people that's breaking the law, because I've said it 100 times. If our president is so big on not breaking the law, why is he breaking so many himself? You know what I'm saying? I've asked this 1,000 times. What, you know what I mean? I was shocked that a president that could even become president and have that many felonies. I was like, what? I was in disbelief. You know what I mean? Half the people in America can't even buy a gun if you got one felony. You know what I mean? So it's just like a lot in it, and I mean, I have all types of races that run through my bloodline and my family, and it just really saddens me to see so many people in America fueling with hurt and pain and anger, behind the policies that have been put in place by Donald Trump. And I feel like these officers that is like, I don't know, it's like they're starting to get off on just torturing people and hurting people, you know what I mean? Not in an abusive way, but in a way of power, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how to explain it the way I'd like to, but it's just like, that's all you see every 5 minutes. Every 2 minutes, ISIS, ICE.
Yeah. But
and
that doesn't give them the right, and it doesn't mean it's right that they're doing it and that they're getting away with it. Mm-hmm. That's why 60 Minutes is under fire, because they literally went in there to El Salvador and they investigated everybody that they've deported. 75% of those men that they deported were immigrants, were here legally, and do not have criminal records. It's very sad when you see those interviews, because what is it about this administration that they think that they can just go and kidnap and pick up anybody that they think they can do it to without due process? The Constitution says every person has the right to due process. It doesn't say a citizen has the right to due process. It says every person. And yet, judge after judge after judge has, said and has stood by that and has tried to uphold it with this Trump administration, and they have undermined that rule. Even the Supreme Court went 9-0, and this guy just thinks that he can do whatever he wants. And what breaks my heart is that in the beginning, I was saying, that the Democratic Party, which is the other balance of power in this country, was kind of spineless. They weren't standing up, and now we got people like AOC, right, Cortez, and, Crockett, and, some of this, future Democratic stars that I'm very, excited to see. That gives me hope, taking a stand and calling them out on their BS, and we need more of that.
Yes,
but what bothers me is that you have the Republican Party not standing up to this buffoon, who you would think have a conscience, who for a fact they took an oath as well to uphold the Constitution, and is allowing this criminal, this evil person to break every law and lie and continue to do what he wants and getting rich off the White House. I mean, this administration is so corrupted, that it sickens me just to realize that everybody is allowing him to get away with it. But what is it that we do when you have Chief Justice John Roberts, from the head of the Supreme Court, who gave him all the immunity, all the power to allow him to do what he's doing? Last year they voted to give him this man that power, which means that no matter what he does, you can't hold this president accountable. But that doesn't mean that we as people can't go out there and be enraged. It doesn't mean that we can't go out there and be, engaged. It's up to us to be able to, walk the streets and protest, peacefully, and say, we're not going to accept this. Just like we did when Elon, Musk was out there running amok, attempting to get into our information and killing every program that your mother, our kids, people that don't have the money to survive, okay, all the services that they've cut with education, Head Start, viable, important programs that we have relied on, okay, and it was effective. Okay, we have to continue to do the same thing with Trump. We have to continue to do the same thing with, Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, and we have to, no matter what, okay, stay involved, and we have to practice the best power out there that we have, which is we have to register to vote. We have to get out the vote, and we have to participate. A lot of people like us, people of color, we don't believe in it, but it's the best weapon we have. We have to stay engaged.
Yeah.
A lot of us get disappointed. A lot of us get mad, and we give up on it. I get it, but it's the best thing we have. And I was thinking, you know what? No matter what, the powerful have power, but we can't just sit on our hands and not do nothing. No matter what, they're always going to try to stop us. And I know that they've manipulated and they stopped a lot of, brown and black communities from voting. I'm sure they did. But that doesn't give us the opportunity, give us a reason to quit and say, okay, well, our vote doesn't count anyways. That should enrage us and say, quite the contrary. We have to do more. We have to participate, not hate. We have to work together. We have to become one voice. And that's the only way I feel, and I think that we're gonna overcome, regardless, Ms. Pearl.
And I feel honestly that all of this that's going on is fueling the dynamics of violent crimes. Like people are starting to panic. They're starting to get really afraid. They don't want to go back to certain type of living conditions and circumstances. I don't know if you've seen, well, I know you have because you're a very educated man, but the conditions in some of these countries, I would be trying to get away from it too. Some of these places, they're, not putting anybody down in their countries or, and no disrespect to anybody in their country, but some of these people are living bad in mud houses and eating mud pies and whatever else they have to go through. And so when they come here and get a taste of being able to live in America and they go, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get my immigration, status and everything straightened out. And they do all of the right things. And this happens, and that's devastating. And then for them just to get sent back just like that. These people are being treated like animals. They're not being treated like human beings. They're not, this is supposed to be the land of the free, and this is not the land of the free. And I believe all this stuff that is happening with all this mass firing all over the place, all these people losing their jobs on top of all the immigration stuff that is going on, I feel strongly in saying that I feel like that it's leading to replacing all these thousands and thousands of people by robots. And that's what and Musk is going to probably be the one providing all of that with Donald Trump's campaign, because that's the type of stuff that he does. That's where his expertise lie also. In building all of these electronics and cars and all this different stuff that drive themselves and all this other type of stuff. And I honestly feel all these people that's working for all these government agencies and all these different people that are getting fired and they're actually telling immigrants right now that they're going to pay them $1,000 and something else if they self-deport themselves now.
Yeah,
and
well,
so,
yeah.
It is really super sad. You're on today with Pearl and Chikali on Just Got Real TV. We're going to go to a break and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Just Got Real TV with your host, Pearl J and Chikali.
All right.
Beautiful program today.
Yes, powerful, very, very powerful. We are here today talking about deportation and immigration policies by the Donald Trump administration. So, Chikali, whew, I know you can't wait to dig in to what's going on with this ISIS stuff, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and run.
You know, I love this country. I love my country. I've got uncles who fought in the military and protected this land since World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And it just breaks my heart, you know, to think about the suffering and the chaos and, you know, the struggles that in 2025 we're still facing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got Mexican Americans who are self-deporting and throwing their awards of valor, things that were given to them by the government, by the presidents, Purple Hearts,
Mm-hmm.
before they cross into Mexico, into the river, because they mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how our people who fight for this country, for your rights, for my rights, for this land, are being treated. And we have a Republican Party who are following a cult, if you will, a person who has a 5th grade level education, who can't really speak, who is a serial liar, who is a convicted felon, who is benefiting from the White House, who is as corrupted as they come, who is a sexual predator, and on top of everything continues to undermine war leaders and other countries for his own interests. And we sit there and we say nothing. His own colleagues, his own party allow him to do this, and it's heartbreaking. And government itself can't do it all. We have the power to assist them, and we the people can do that if we get involved. Stay enraged, stay engaged. Social media is huge. Programs like ours can reach certain communities, certain people, but it's like the ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it spreads out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you can't be okay with Homeland Security, with ICE, going out there and picking up and invading, raiding homes without even, you know, declaring who they are. You know, if you come into my house, man, I'm gonna shoot you. If you don't tell me who you are, I'm gonna protect me and my family. You know, but they're expected to come in at all hours of the night, and we're expecting to let you do it just because why? It makes no sense. And on top of everything, you're going around like thugs, covering your faces. You know, you work for the government. Who are you? For all we know, you know, you're just someone pretending to be ICE, someone pretending to work for the government. Mm-hmm. You know, who do you think you are? You know, you're more like secret police. This is something that's happening in Russia, a communistic society. Mm-hmm. And we're allowing people to do this. Mm-hmm. When will it stop? We can stop this. You know, and put yourself in the shoe of the immigrant. Mm-hmm. You know, and why do those people need titles? They're people like us. Mm-hmm. You know, they're working, they're trying to, you know, overcome so that they can do, you know, the best they can for their families. Mm-hmm. You know, why does color have to even be an issue? Mm-hmm. You know, they're people just like us, you know. Why can't you want for them what you want for yourself? You want the best for your family, you want the best for your kids, you want the best for your wife. You know, when they get sick, you want to protect them, and you want to make sure that they get medicine and that they get, you know, the best doctors and treatment. So what is so bad about them obtaining the same rights or privileges that they're working for?
Because that's exactly what that is. It's a privilege, you know, and it's a right to be able to, you know, to love and care for your family. And it's heartbreaking, you know what I'm saying? When you've been with somebody for 30 years, and then all of a sudden you're waiting for your spouse to come home from work, 2 days done past, 3 days, and then you find out some way on social media, they don't even have the decency or the respect to pick up the phone or allow them to call their wife or family and say, hey, I've been picked up by ISIS. People are finding out through social media what happened to, that their loved one has been picked up. It's, oh, I'm so fueled right now. And then, can you imagine the cost of enforcement? There's no money for the homeless. There's no money for this. It's no money for that. But it's enough of money to pay all these different immigrants to self-deport themselves, to house them, to get 20,000 more officers out on the street. There's all this funding for that, but it's nothing. There's no funding for anything else that we need to do in America, and that's sad. People are struggling so bad right now. I mean, taking a husband, a father out the home. Half of these homes don't even have fathers. Half of these homes don't even have husbands. And the ones that do, you're taking them away too. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to be a stand-up guy in today's world, because the average man has so much pressure. It's not easy. It's not easy to survive. It is not. And I just want to say to Donald Trump, I am so disappointed in you. I'm painfully disappointed in the way that all these different immigrants and stuff all across the world are being treated.
Executive orders mean nothing. They're all going to be challenged, and they're going to stop you, just like we did when you first were president. And let me tell you something. Asylum was put into law in this country because both Republicans and Democrats came together and they voted for it, so it became law. And it became law because of what happened with your ancestors in Germany between Hitler and the Jews. Mm-hmm. And it was so sad that America said no more. We should never allow this to happen. Mm-hmm. So what's happening with Garcia and El Salvador and you not bringing him back, mm-hmm. okay, that's your choice. Okay, you're undermining the rule of law. Okay, because you think you're some kind of dictator and you think that you can, be allowed to do that. That's not gonna happen. Eventually, you're gonna have to bring it back. But the whole point is that, that was a rule that was created by Congress. So everybody has that a right. And so, it's nothing that was just made up. Okay, it's a rule of law. It was passed by Congress, and people that come here seeking asylum, like you were mentioning, fleeing disastrous behavior or torture or political corruption and whatnot, it's terrible. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's terrible. And so, this country has always been good with opening up our arms, right, to people who have suffered, who are seeking a better way of life, and assisting them if their case is legit. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we open our arms and we say, we're here to help. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not like they just jump here and cross the border, mm-hmm. or come in here illegally and then we allow them to stay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so whatever you tell people, the stupid people that believe you, okay, because they're brainless, just like you, have no idea how that works. All that is a lie. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's laws in place for a reason. And another thing, you're so hard on immigrants, but yet you married 3 different wives that were immigrants themselves. You talk bad about anchor babies and you want to deport them. Why don't you start with deporting your own kids? I don't get it. Mm-hmm. You're the biggest hypocrite. Mm-hmm. You're a buffoon. You embarrass us worldwide. Mm-hmm. And for you to not be ashamed and not know that is what's scary.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, they did a worldwide poll on, people that was in favor of the things that Donald Trump is actually doing, and it was below 50% worldwide. So that says a lot about what people think is happening with, when you score 50% and below worldwide. I think maybe I seen one or two 56 or 53, but people are not happy with what's happening, and it's just a matter of time that they're going to be even more unhappy. And we could talk about this until next year, because there's a lot of serious things that's going on right now with this campaign, and it's very hurtful things. It's very painful things. And I don't know Donald Trump personally, and he doesn't know me personally. But what I'm seeing so far, I'm very, very embarrassed of how America is being represented. And I'm going to leave it right there. And we are out of time. You are just heard it here today on It Just Got Real TV with Kelly and Pearl J. We'll be back next week, same time, same station. Stay tuned in. Leave a like, leave a comment.